Hey, muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. And as always, muchísimas gracias to everyone for you guys' words, prayers, time, just for everything you do put down and send my way. Desde el Cora, muchísimas gracias. And just to get into the story in hand real fast, today I want to do a quick profile. It's not what I had in mind to touch on, but it's relevant. And for obvious reasons, I obtained from it. But I was dying to touch on this individual, right? And just put a little personal sense into it. Allow me to take it back like maybe a year after I got out. Once we got down here and we started functioning, right? In the sense of trying to earn trust. As I mentioned before, we were basically cleaning what was left behind from the Damascus. And one of the individuals that was on that lista, right, was what we were later known as el 27 or el perris. He belonged to the Damascus since a kid, right? And he was well known for the fact that even though he was out there in Nahualato, he's from Culiacan. Nevertheless, we went out there to El Dorado where his snitching butt was hiding at, and we basically ended up, you know, getting him, and after a couple cachetadas, if you guys know what I'm talking about, he basically decided to go ahead and flip flop, right? And again, this is a perfect in look on how things work in Mexico and how they measure loyalty, right? Or the gang of power. In my eyes, a flip flopper is just as good as a dropout as we know it, right? You you just you drop out of something, and in the worst way. For example, after a couple coscorrones, he basically agreed to help us in Mazatlan. And what I mean about help us, his own colleagues or butt buddies from the Damasos that were hiding back there is willing to call him out, go knock on the door, and basically put them in a plate for us, right? So again, we went out there and he literally did this with if my memory don't mistake us, it was about 6 to 8 different individuals, right? In different scenarios. And my set of mind was just in that goal, right? Which is this cat's a snitch. He's he's a weenie. It didn't matter how much. But again, since a kid he was supporting the muscles, so he was aware of the people, right? Of where it was directing things out, different angles for Fedia. So when everything was said and done, we got back to Culiacan, we sat him down, smacked him a little bit more, and I'll be sincere, I was one of the ones that was anxious to just go ahead and get it over with, right? And you know, for a lot of personal reasons when it came to the Damasos in the family, right? A lot of losses, my family, even though I was a Sureño and I was supporting the Sureños and I was doing what I was supposed to under a causa, and then take the blood from inside me and the family that we lost in that war, right? So that order never came. You see, to the Chapitos, he was better alive. So basically, if he turned in all his connects, his route, pushed the people that he was in contact with him, and sworn loyalty, which that word shouldn't even be in the conversation, right? They allowed him a pass. It is how he could help, per se, into the chapitos. And again, we just hired guns. So of course, it didn't matter how much I wanted to, you know, I have no say so. Again, if I did a mistake, it was going to ruin what we were pushing for, right? So I bit my tongue like I was used to, and I allowed things to flow. And after that, after a while, they put him with El Nini. This was his right hand man, right? El Nini's. And for those that are aware, the downfall of El Nini happened because his right hand man and his people left him to choke on his own. Basically, did not go support him, and because he had brainwashed the bosses, in this case the juniors, on a lot of different negative aspects that the Nini was doing that only the closest to him would know. In other words, he was being a comadre to the Chapitos because that was his way of stepping on someone, getting rid of him and taking over, which happened to the dot. When Nini got left alone, got caught, and stepping in perris, right? Perris, excuse me. He stepped in and he took over everything and Nini had. Not only that, but took on a lot of more responsibilities within the movement of theirs, right? To the point that that plan to have El Mayo, taken to Texas and help one of the Chapo's son. He was well trusted, so again, I don't understand how, but he was allowed around that old man, right? So this individual was the one that threw him on a truck, hog tied him, and sent him on his way on a plane, right? With Agustin. And it's how he won a lot more trust. You see, it's been a while that for one reason or another, he was slipping. Because a person that always has so much baggage on his head and don't know what loyalty is. Yes, he's playing that part, but at the same time, he's doing things for himself. And government is definitely after him, especially because he was well seen in the Culocanazo, the first one, moving a 50 cal, right, against government. But again, he was being shielded. But here's the kicker, for a while, I didn't have nothing to do with this, but here at the ranch, they were addressing with respect to the juniors to turn El Perris into the Mayos, because that's what they wanted, right? They wanted the one that hog-tied their dad, per se. Again, I wasn't there, but that's what's said around here, right? And Chales, you seen the stand they took, right? Well, just recently in Navalato, he got a little bit of a dose of this own medicine, right? They gave him up. He asked to be rescued, and they told him if you basically made fun of him while they went in, and they weren't looking to arrest him. Orders were clear, right? He had to bounce. If he would have died in a shootout, for those that men around should know, you don't get two to the chest and one to the head, dome style. But, there is a lot of different angles to this in Novalato. He was in a rat's cave, left alone. But, just recently there was a set down with a lot of proof, right? Of what we were informing the juniors. There is videos on this individual having one of his closest men meet with the government, the United States government, because a snake will always look for the benefit for himself, turning in, I don't know if you guys have seen all the current arrests to people in power when it comes to the juniors. They're being given up by this individual. I seen recordings that shows this individual meeting with the guy that goes meet with the guy for the government because he was looking to fix a deal. So he goes to the state, does his thing, and then goes weaning out somewhere, right? And he didn't care. For those that stay updated, not too long ago, the oldest son of El Chaparro word. You guys know who was about to get caught. Someone that gave him up when he was alone. But he was able to get out and call his cousin and one of son, and he got out of there, right? With the quickness they went and picked him up. It's what it didn't occur. And this guy is the one that gave that location, del 200. Man, I personally seen 5, but as far as I know, there's about 15 in a high position when it came to the functions of the juniors. But, it's something in common in Mexico. They work hand in hand with government. That's a given. But they also expect loyalty from someone that betrays their boss, gives everything that they have, its people, its avenues, his guidelines to money, his route. And they expect loyalty. And they want to deny it once it hits a fan that they're working with government against them now. See, a lot of people have this myth talking about the government just ran into him. Nah, things like that don't happen here, especially in Navalato. His own bosses called and said he was there and gave him up to eliminate themselves from the heat they've been getting. So they start hitting that how different angle that's against them right now. It's some mental work. It's a snake eat snake world, right? Which I think in reality, I always maintain loyal to what I have always been. But if you sit down and think about it, it's exactly what Pilis are doing when it comes to homies, camaradas, right? Norteños, bulldogs. They're utilizing some cat on social media to tell on each other, to turn themselves in, to throw heat off of them and on the next individual, to throw people under the bus. They feel the squad on them, or they throw a couple of workers under the bus to get the heat off of them. They'll throw the ball on another Pili, right, when it's not true. It's that él dijo, ella dijo type of stuff. And if you really sit down and think, it's a reflection of the workings in Mexico. You see, this has been happening in Sinaloa. That old man that got a little dose of his medicine, man, as I get more into profiles as I plan to, but on people that has important, right? I just thought I'd put this little personal in look on this individual. And I ain't trying to glorify this cat. He's probably the biggest weenie I have ever met. You know, after that Mazatlan, well, we're supposed to go out to Conchas. Uh, he felt he had a little bit more leverage, and I swear to you, every excuse in the book he came out with because he was scared. It's easy to ram your lips. That's why, I laugh when I hear all these people sugarcoating. Oh, I went sideways, but I didn't snitch. Oh, I dropped out 3 times, but I'm still solid. Come on. Trash is trash. And I know a lot of people consider me trash, and I respect it. But ain't nobody could come on here and say I ain't complete what I signed up for and more without weaning out because I got scared, because I got tired of prison, because I couldn't make it amongst our ranks, right? I'm already losing track. I just wanted to touch this individual. I hope it's a little in look on how they work here. They expect loyalty from an individual that's working with the enemy. Hood hubs, brincacharcos, and just from word promise you loyalty after turning in everybody underneath them. Sounds familiar with someone on YouTube now? But anyways, I send my love. I just want to do a little profile as I promised. I'm going to try to upload every day, but don't quote me on it. I don't want to give my word because, I'm real stuck with it. But I send my love. Please stay true to yourself and loyal to loved ones. Just stay loyal to those that ain't gonna pay you out of pocket. That loyalty means loyalty. Buenas noches.